if we look at this historical pattern, are we now in the grips of a new herding overvaluation bubble or not?
I'm saying we're always and partly in that grip. I mean, it's just a matter of degree. If you're asking me, are equities overvalued? Well, I think you have to ask yourself, basically, I mean, what we do is we take, instead of looking at price-earnings ratios, we look at earnings-price ratios, and we can just construct that as the sum of real long-term interest rates, inflation expectations, and by far the largest and volatile part is equity premiums. And right now, equity premiums are, I guess, somewhere in the range of normality. The real issue is real long-term interest rates are exceptionally low. Indeed, if you look at the history of the United States, before they took this very short-term move recently, they have never been lower. I mean, going back to 1789. Now, if, as I indicated before, interest rates are stable as a human characteristic, there's only one direction in which that can go. And what I think you're going to say is, I argue that there is both a stock bubble and an interest rate bubble, or bond market bubble, I should say. And at the time, and the bond market bubble is essentially the determining force, because to reach equilibrium, it's got to move, whereas all other aspects have a lot of fluctuation. It is at its low interest rate, real interest rates are at the lowest levels of extremity. And by definition, if you're at your lowest levels, there's only one direction you can go. But if that goes up, then it tends to alter the earnings-price ratio and would bring stock prices down. And that's what's happening. I'm not going to go out here and be a stock market forecaster, but I know what the forces are, and it's a question here of trying to determine which is the driving force. Remember that the stock market is being driven to a large extent by the one thing that I think the Trump administration did right, got the 35% corporate tax, marginal corporate tax rate, and brought it down to 21%. I think that probably caused the result of everyone watching Ireland. Ireland did exactly the same thing in 1998, and it had been pretty dull economy before then, and immediately thereafter, for 5 years or more, its productivity increase was more than 5% per year.